Rest in peace to Doug Martin. He was a fantasy legend. But we're at the midseason mark in our fantasy seasons, and we need these wins now more than ever. So getting these pickups, well, they can help us down the line. And this week is all about grabbing and stashing. So if you have any questions about your lineup or you just want a second opinion, drop it in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. Let's start with my favorite running back in this past year's class, Kyle Monangai. Why? Well, he's a bowling ball. He's built low and he runs lower. He is basically David Montgomery for this Chicago Bears offense. He's only owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, 4 ESPN leagues, and last week had his breakout week. 17 fantasy points, and it wasn't only because of the touchdown. He had 81 yards on the ground on 13 carries, which is important. He also had 2 receptions for 15 yards, so he did a little bit of everything. But this is a guy that I'm not saying grab him and start him, but his schedule the next 2 weeks is very favorable. He has Baltimore, which is the second best matchup, and then he has Cincinnati the following week. So he has the best 2 matchups the next 2 weeks where the Bears can get up early, Monangai can get a lot more touches, and ultimately produce for our fantasy team. So again, I'm not saying start him, but pick him up, stash him. Let's see what we got. Another rookie running back that you got to keep your eye out for, again, maybe grab him and stash him, is Brashard Smith, only owned in 6% of Yahoo and 3% of ESPN leagues. And again, same story here. Breakout week last week with 13 fantasy points in full PPR formats. He had 14 rushing attempts, more than any other back in that backfield, for 40 rushing yards. He also tacked on 5 receptions for 40 yards. So Monangai is more of your running back, and Brashard Smith is your PPR, a Devon Achane kind of a monster where he can get a ton of receptions and go to work with the ball in his hands. Now, next week, not a great matchup against Washington, but Washington could be in a desperate must-win spot, so their defense might be a little spirited, meaning Brashard Smith can still have a very good fantasy day. The following week, though, before their bye week, Kansas City needs to win this game against Buffalo. It's a top 5 matchup for the running back position, and they need to win it for playoff, seeding down the line. So Brashard Smith could play a big part in that game, and again, he's a grab stash, see what we have. But here is the tail of the tape, and yes, I know my face cam is blocking the numbers, but here's what you need to know. Everyone on your screen is owned in about 50% or less of the major 2 platforms. At quarterback, the main guy this week for week 8 should be Michael Penix. This is a guy that is playing Miami, which is a top 2 matchup next week, but it's a high-powered offense against the Miami Dolphins, who have seemingly, well, they've kind of died. They've kind of given up on this season morally. So again, Penix should light that defense up at home, mind you. Now, Kyle Monangai and Brashard Smith, we talked about. At the receiver positions, Josh Downs was out with a concussion in this past game against the Chargers, but still, he was averaging about 14 and a half fantasy points a game the 2 weeks prior, so he has a defined role in this offense when healthy. I trust Josh Downs going forward. Now, Kendrick Bourne, if Mac Jones is the quarterback, this is a weekly start. Now, like I mentioned, this is before Monday Night Football, so we have to see how he does. But with Ricky Pearsall always missing time, George Kittle's just coming back, it's really a health roulette here in San Francisco. So if anybody of note misses time in this offense, Kendrick Bourne is going to step up into a key role in this offense on a weekly basis. Let's not forget, Brandon Ayuk, the main guy, remember him? His timeline just got pushed back. So Kendrick Bourne, even if he's the number 2 wide receiver on a weekly basis, could have a pretty cutout and defined role for fantasy going forward. Now, Juwan Johnson and Mason Taylor would be the pickups at the tight end position. Mason Taylor of the Jets, he's playing the Bengals next week. It's the best matchup for tight ends, but he is a rookie, and Tyrod Taylor's probably going to be the quarterback. Not exciting to really look at, but the numbers are there for Taylor to potentially have a pretty good day. Juwan Johnson plays the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I prefer this matchup because Rattler, they might be down against Tampa Bay. It's a divisional matchup, and it could just be a shootout. So I want the weapons in that game, point blank, period. Juwan on your waivers. He's available. Go grab him. At the kicker, we like Will Reichard. 18 points last week. Next week, he plays the Chargers on a short week, and J.J. McCarthy might be returning to play the starting quarterback position. So again, rookie quarterback coming in off the injury. They're going to start slow on a short week. I like the kickers in that matchup, and that's the exact reason I have the Chargers defense. Chargers defense, look, you're playing against a very inexperienced quarterback if he decides to return to the lineup on a short week at home, mind you. For the Chargers, I just like them. I think they can get after J.J. McCarthy and maybe force a turnover or two. But that's it, man. Again, rest in peace to Doug Martin. He was an incredible NFL player and great fantasy asset for so many years. But going into this week, that is the tale of the tape. Those are the names you should be picking up. If you have any questions about your lineup or you just want a second opinion, drop it in the comments and I'll get back to you.